Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gridiron 2025. Ron Poniewasz is joined, as always, by Mr. Larry Kelly, the belated birthday boy, as he made it known prior to us going on. Larry Kelly is a member of the Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George law firm, our show's sponsor. He's also an assistant basketball coach for Newcastle High under Ralph Blundo. That might be under duress. So Ralph might be being forced to hire you out of Larry also coaches assistant coach on Penn State Shenango baseball team. There you go. Thank you. And he's a former Shenango varsity baseball coach. I think we'll leave the private school coaching to winter, since that was a winter sport. What do you think?
With private school coaching, you talking about Holy Redeemer?
Holy Redeemer, yeah.
Oh, no, it's my favorite coaching job. The 5th and 6th grade girls at the Holy Redeemer Blazers hoop team.
There you go.
It was the greatest.
And Larry's joining us this week for another round of segments. We're going to tell you about a young man that had quite a performance in a win Friday night. And then we've got our Red Hurricane Minute splashed in with some this and that topics. And then followed up by the week 3 schedule that is coming up. And first off, we will talk about Athlete of the Week. Larry, it is Jino Mozzocio, senior, 5'10", 176-pound quarterback defensive back for Neshannock High. Last week, he was 10 of 13 passing for 193 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air. They covered 72 yards, 43 yards, and 9 yards through 1 pick. He also carried the ball 12 times for 65 yards and added another touchdown on the ground, covering 6 yards in a 42-6 win over Union. It was Neshannock's second game of the year, Union's first. Neshannock goes to 1-1 on the season.
Yeah, quite a performance. Jino Mozzocio has been doing it since he was in 9th grade. So this is not news. The young man can play on both sides of the ball. He amounted for 250 yards of offense. I mean, 193 through the air, another 65 on the ground, 2 touchdown passes, 2 bombs, 172 yards to Brady Frazzo. And how about this? A 43-yard touchdown pass to a young man named Sam Flora. I never thought I would live long enough to see that a Sam Flora, no less, wouldn't be playing at Newcastle High School. But things have certainly changed. You know, that Flora name was legendary in Newcastle, starting with the grandfather, Sam, his brothers, Denny and Ricky, their kids, all played at Newcastle. They were tremendous players. So, but quite a performance by Jino Mozzocio. I'm sure the coaches and the Connie will be glad to see this young man graduate, because he's been doing this for 4 years now. Special player.
Right. And Neshannock, as I mentioned, went to 1-1. And last week on our show, I expected them to, basically Union be going into a hornet's nest, because Neshannock was coming off that 37-20 loss against Mohawk, and that's certainly what it turned out to be. Neshannock was certainly on its game start to finish against Union. The only hiccup was a kickoff return for a touchdown in the late stages of that game.
I mean, again, we talk about this every week, but Neshannock dominated the line of scrimmage. And if you dominate the line of scrimmage, you're going to win high school football games. They outrushed Union 264 yards to 92. So, I always say, Ronnie, you get the right guys blocking, you and I can run the ball. And Neshannock dominated the line of scrimmage. Hence, the score was what it was, 42-6.
Absolutely. And that is Jino Mozzocio. He is our Athlete of the Week for the second week of the high school football season. Coming up next, Larry Kelly's going to talk to you about the Newcastle High football program, which is coming off a loss last week on the road against Hopewell. So we'll take a break, and we'll do that next here on Gridiron.
We're here with Neshannock High's Jino Mozzocio. Jino is our Athlete of the Week this week. He had a great game, 42-6 win over Union last Friday. Jino, just talk about that win first off.
It was a great team win to bounce back after the week 0 loss. I mean, tough loss. We came out flat versus Milk, but it was good to bounce back and show what we can do.
Longest pass you made was 72 yards on that first play. You were 10 of 13 for 193 yards. Obviously, talk about just how successful those first drives have been for you guys in these first 2 weeks.
Just get the ball out quick and let the playmakers do what they do, and the line just getting people's way.
You had 12 carries for 65 yards. You're great scrambling. Just talk about your field vision.
I like to move around out there and just see what I can do. It opens up our offense.
All right.
There's one thing I learned growing up around here. People should look out for each other. Be friends and neighbors that you can count on. So it bothers me when people who are hurt in automobile accidents get bullied by the insurance company. I don't let bullies run over my clients. I do what I was taught growing up. Step up, stand up, and speak up for those who can't. I'm Larry Kelly, and I'm a Newcastle guy.
We're back with you here on Gridiron. Larry Kelly's ready for his Red Hurricane Minute. That's the segment. Larry Kelly, the floor is yours to talk about the Newcastle High football program.
This one was painful. 2 weeks ago, Coach Mozzocio said Newcastle football is back. And to quote the great Lee Corso, if he were here, he might say, "Not so fast, my friend." They got their tails whipped by Hopewell, 31-6. I talked to Coach Mangino, who's a lawyer at our office, and what he basically said is what I had mentioned in our earlier segment. They got dominated on the line of scrimmage. Hopewell ran the ball in that game for 156 yards. Newcastle ran it for 39. 9 out of 10 times, if you win the battles on the line of scrimmage, you're going to win the game. And then when you add to that, Newcastle had 5 turnovers, 9 penalties for 72 yards. That's not a formula for success. I still believe that this season is going to be a good one for the Red Hurricane. And maybe that's only because I bleed red and black. But, the bounce back will be this week. What lessons were learned? And can you take what ended up being a really bad performance, learn from it, turn it around, and come back and play better football this week? I still believe they can. Until I'm convinced they can't, I'm going to believe it. But it's not getting easy. They play in the Parkway Conference, and I was looking at their schedule. There are no cupcakes on this schedule. And so you got to control the line of scrimmage. You have to run the ball, and you can't turn it over, and you certainly can't commit silly penalties. You put all those 3 together, and the score's 31-6, and that's what happened on Friday night. Again, I wasn't there. I'm looking at the stats. I talked to Coach Mangino today, and it's pretty much what he told me. The quarterback from Hopewell was really good, but the game was won at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and you pointed it out to everybody last week that Hopewell is back. They got a good football team this year, and I guess they put that on full display last week against Newcastle.
I understand that Newcastle is going to move a few players around this week on the defensive line. Again, that's according to Coach Mangino. And, the key to coaching is to get the right players in the right position. And I don't care what sport you're coaching, whether that be baseball, basketball, 2 things I know a little bit more about, or football. You got to get the right guys in the right spot. And sometimes it takes a week or 2 to figure that out. And I think that's the change you're going to see this week. The quarterback, Marino Graham, struggled a little bit, even though he did hit one big one to Kai Cox. I think it was maybe a 75-yard touchdown pass. So, there was some excitement, but it starts and ends at the line of scrimmage, Ronnie. And Newcastle, they got dominated. And that's why it ended up the way it ended up, my friend.
All right. One thing I want to ask you, a couple things, actually. Let's start first off with you mentioning that they might be moving some guys around on the line. Is this a classic case of maybe this is what's wrong with the schedule, the PIAA and schools electing not to play a second scrimmage, whereas you play a first scrimmage, you get to see how the guys react to their positions here and there, And then the next week, when you have a second scrimmage, you can adjust again, move kids around and what have you. And then game number one, you have a better idea. Now here we are 2 weeks in, and they've played 2 actual games, and they're jockeying for position, moving things around. Maybe look, I think everybody needs to play 2 scrimmages. I think this is ridiculous. This quote unquote week 0. That's a nonsense phrase, but it's a perfect way to say, let's just play 2 scrimmages. And, maybe some of this stuff would have been possibly figured out after 2 scrimmages.
I don't agree with you often, but I do agree with you here, especially at the high school level, where many times you're not bringing back the same 11 that you had the year before. You're bringing new kids who are experiencing varsity competition for the first time. I do believe that having a second scrimmage would be helpful, both for the players and the coaches. But that's the world and the system we live in now. And you're probably not going to see very many schools take advantage of the 2 scrimmages.
Mm-hmm. The other question that I wrote down for myself when I asked you, last year, Newcastle was undefeated when they went into what we call the gauntlet, playing those 3 big-time teams in Aliquippa, Montour, and West Allegheny. This year, they're going to go into that gauntlet with at least the 1 loss to Hopewell. Who knows between now and then? You don't want to lose ever, but could this possibly be a blessing in disguise where they get knocked down just a peg and they're not as sky high as they were last year going into Aliquippa and undefeated and things like that?
Let me tell you something. As a player, as a coach, and as a trial lawyer, I always learned more after a defeat than I did in victory. Mm-hmm. So I always was better after a defeat than I was before that. So to again answer your question, maybe there is a silver lining here. Sometimes when you're playing lesser competition, your mistakes are not as obvious. You can hide them. You can get away with them. But Hopewell was a good football team. Newcastle was exposed. They're going to make some changes, as I understand it, not so much in personnel, but in the positioning of that personnel that could make a difference. So, yes, I agree. You always learn a little bit more about yourself in defeat than you do in victory.
All right. Anything, any final words, Larry, regarding the Newcastle football team?
They're on the road again. It's a big week. Let's see if they turn it around.
We all know there's an advantage to playing at home, to being the home team. At LGKG, we've been your home team personal injury attorneys for auto accident and workers' compensation cases for over 90 years. We know what works and how to win. We have all the credentials. At LGKG, we don't take every case. We handpick our clients so that we can give you the attention you deserve.
Birthday boy.
Yesterday, I was waiting for a gift from you two. Nothing showed up.